Hikers and backpackers of Reddit, what is the weirdest or creepiest thing you have found while hiking?
Except I'm gonna read it myself today. Thank you so much for clicking the video, by the way, and yeah.
A man wearing a Ku Klux Klan hat with eye holes. Nothing else. Masturbating. I biked past him in the woods on my way home in the 7th grade. Yes, it was Florida. This traumatized me for years. Thanks for finally giving me a good laugh, guys. By the way, it was Calder Ridge, Florida. Florida, man! I was hiking in the Hoh Forest on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington back in '03. I was trying to do this really snazzy hike from the ocean to Mount Olympus. Well, day 1 is a blast. Get everything accomplished. Day 2, fog. Fog as thick as anything you can imagine. I can't get a decent GPS fix, so I'm pretty much blind. But I know if I follow the Hoh River upstream, I'll get to one of the campsites I'm going for. Day goes by and fog isn't clearing up at all. I get to a fairly big clearing and set up my tent. I grab a power bar and chill out as it starts going to the darkest black night I've ever experienced. I'm seriously a bit unnerved at the whole thing. Not scared as much as just anxious. About 2 in the morning, I start hearing this huffing noise, like Darth Vader without the helmet on. My imagination starts to go freaky and I reach for my flashlight. I pull the drawstring on the tent a little, very quietly, and poke my head out, still dark as death. I hear the noise coming from maybe 5 feet to my right. At this point, I'm seriously rethinking my belief in Sasquatch. I poke my flashlight out and turn it on. I'm a few feet away from a massive Roosevelt elk, who'd lost his way in the dark as well. He sees the flashlight, bolts the other way, tags a tree, and knocks himself clean out. I laid in the tent until I heard a groan, a bunch of commotion, and the big guy grunt away. Poor guy, I hope he was okay. Glad he didn't whip you or matter you. Been waiting years for this question. Hiking alone at dusk, doing a 5-mile loop in the Santa Monica Mountains in Los Angeles. I see another lone hiker approaching from the opposite direction. As he gets closer, I suddenly realize I know this person. It's the guy who played James Gumb, aka Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. Ooh, that's actually quite scary. And ooh, that was sick. Yeah. We get within 3 feet of each other. He looks at me. He sees the lightning bolt of recognition hit my face. His sad and resigned expression back said it all. Yeah, I'm him. No, I'm not really a serial killer. I walked briskly by him anyway and didn't look back until I was a good 100 yards down the trail. The words per Odysseus ad ignitum, drawn in the snow in the absolute middle of nowhere, yet no footprints around them. The words were probably a few hours old. The closest translation we could find was through audacity towards the unknown. Boldly go where no one has gone before. So, Captain, you're going to write a Latin phrase in the snow, and then leave no footprints behind. What exactly is the purpose of this exercise? To screw with them, Spock. Beam me up, Scotty. An old as dirt nudist hiker. No shoes, no flip-flops, just his pack, a pad, and a pair of trekking poles. Ran into him while I was day hiking one of the rockiest, nasty section of the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania. He was super friendly, very talkative, and completely ignored any and all questions about his lack of clothing. We walked together while he talked on and on for a few miles before I turned back and carried on. Lefty, if you're still out on the trails, stay weird. This is why Lefty won't be joining you on your trip. He only hikes nude. You've got enough. I lived in a national park by myself for 3 months. Several times when I was going back to my trailer for the day, I would hear music, like a music box or an ice cream truck. It was always loud and sounded like it was coming from somewhere over my head. One day I decided to look for the source. Oh my god, this is a bad decision, dude. So I followed the dirt road past my trailer. The music continued, and I couldn't tell if it was getting closer or not. I had my eyes on the trees and looked down just in time to avoid stepping on a snake. I scrambled back, but it didn't move. I realized it was dead, and it wasn't alone. There were half a dozen dead copperheads stretched out on the road, looking in the same direction. I went back to my car because I couldn't bring myself to step over them. But by the time I got my keys, the music had stopped and I didn't hear it again. It is. Sometimes after this happened, my friends told me that there was a haunted prison in the same park. The Pea Farm. So that was good to know. Oh my god. Okay, this is an Australian one. Bushwalking in NSW, Australia. Me and my friends came across this weird platform looking thing made of rocks. Later that year, the cops arrested some bloke on suspicion of the murders of a series of backpackers who had gone missing over the couple of a few years. And at the sites of several of the murders slightly off in the bush were these altars. Current affairs show runs footage of one, the trial and run up to it were all over the news. And yeah, it's the thing we found. The altars were typically no more than 300 yards from the victims' shallow graves. The guy who was arrested and subsequently convicted for the murders was Ivan Milat, Australia's worst serial killer, mate. And the cops are pretty sure that at least one more person was involved in the murders than the one now in jail for the crime. They just couldn't prove it. I'm so sorry for my Australian. That pretty much ruined the story, right? I was fortunate enough to do a through hike at the AT in 2012. Stopped by this guy's house known as the Ice Cream Man right on the trail. An old man with thick glasses appeared at the door, took me inside by the hand and gave me an orange cream popsicle as he read "Where the Wild Things Are" to me as we sat at his kitchen table. Now that's weirdness level 7.3 out of 10. He sounds like a nice guy, plus he's known as the Ice Cream Man, so I'm surprised you thought he would do something else. I was fossil hunting in a wash after a thunderstorm the night before. I figured it had to uncover a bit of stuff down the stream bed. I found this. I've spent various stretches of time backpacking and camping throughout the US and seen some strange things. My brother and I came across an abandoned trailer town of sorts that scared the hell out of us. We also came across a runway town, really small, out in New Mexico, that seemed to have one person living in it. We based that on the fact there was still some food and supplies there that were fairly fresh, perhaps just a few days old. Spent a couple of days there trying to find a person, just to find out why they were staying in the town. Never found a person. We found the skeletal remains of an unknown number of deer, ranging from bucks to fawn, ensnared in a barbed wire fence that encompassed a 10 by 10 area in the Ozarks. A few of the skulls topped the fence posts, and there were one post in the middle of the area that had decaying deer bodies, looked to be 2, but there were only 6 hulls jutting out of the wreckage, wrapped around it. We found a dummy hanging down a tree while in the Yukon Territory of Canada, literally out in the middle of the woods. No reason for it, as far as we know. And we also came across a dead junkie on the road out of Olympia. Obvious OD, as he had his arm tied and a needle in his hand. Eyes were glazed over and staring straight ahead, mouth slightly ajar. It is. Why do you guys want it to be me's? It's technically moose, plural and singular. It just takes the edge of the whole story. Took my young children to a cave not far away from the house. Popular spot, but we had the place to ourselves. You can walk through it in about 30 minutes without too much difficulty. My god, that's a bad dad voice. It has a tiny exit at the opposite end. It was pretty muddy, so we decided to turn around and head back to the entrance. Halfway back, there was a lit candle sitting about 8 feet up on one side. What the fuck? It was definitely not there on the first trip. I went into full-on protective dad mode, knowing there was likely someone hiding in the dark while we walked the rest of the way out. Jeez. I was backpacking in New Hampshire and camped out for the night. After a day hike, I wandered off on the fire to go to take a piss and stumbled upon a circle etched onto the ground, with tuning forks surrounding the circle standing up straight. It looked like a creepy ritual circle, and it bugged me, so I booked it back to the group. Edit. This kind of blew up, but it was in the White Mountain Nation Forest. It was a campsite called 13 Falls, pretty cool area and a really easy hike. It was an overall good trip.
And I'm sorry I didn't take touch, pedophile!
The tuning forks. I wasn't trying to fuck with the ritual dudes. I was backpacking in Yellowstone above the tree line at about 10,500 feet. We are taking a ride above a lake when all of a sudden we come across a horse skull. No body, just a skull, pretty cool looking. We get to our campsite not too far away from the lake, near where we found the horse skull. When we climbed to the lake, we found the body of the horse rotting on the edge of the lake, with negative film strips floating in the water and laying around the shore near the body.
Meth heads that we ran into on the trail, they threatened us with a knife and asked for money. My friend's 357 that we had for bears came in handy.
Over the years, when I have told this story, many people haven't believed me. But it's true as the sky is blue. Me and my brother were hiking out in the new backwoods. We had just moved into a new house, and we stumbled upon a small open grass field. In the center of it, there was a person with a blue jacket crouched over. We thought it was a friend of ours that we had recently met, so I ran out to meet. I did not have my glasses on, but I got pretty close enough to see that it was a grown man leaned over the carcass of a deer, stabbing it with unsharpened stick. He looked up and saw me. I was pretty freaked out, so I turned around and yelled at my brother to run! And so we started to sprint as fast as we could back home. Oh my god, this was fun for me. If you did like this video, just press the down like button. Bye bye.